They buried the baby alive to silence the curse, but the earth never forgets. Some truths cannot stay buried. Every shadow whispered his name, and every night he rose closer. The child beneath the floor is awake. You cannot bury what was never dead. And now he wants a vessel.
In a certain village in the eastern part of Nigeria, where the red mud filled the floor with thatched roofs, the moon hung pale over the thick African forest as Ekene and his wife Ada wandered deeper than usual, desperate for herbs to heal Ada's barrenness. At the foot of a twisted Iroko tree, they found a bundle wrapped in faded cloth. Inside, a baby slept silently, with a strange mark across his forehead. The elders had warned of such children, abandoned by spirits, cursed by silence. Ekene wanted to leave him, but Ada's arms trembled with longing as she lifted the child. His eyes flickered open, glowing faintly in the moonlight, then closed again. She whispered, "Every child deserves love, even if the gods disapprove." But when they returned to the village, the elders spat on the ground and warned, "This child will not bring blessings, he will bring judgment." That night, Ekene paced outside their hut, torn between his wife's joy and the village's fear. Unable to resist Ada's pleas, Ekene agreed to keep the baby, but in secret. If the village discovered, they could be banished. Late one night, Ekene pried open the floorboards of their mud-walled hut and dug a shallow space between the earth and wood. Ada wrapped the baby in cloth, laid him gently inside, and whispered lullabies through the cracks. From above, she could hear faint breaths, sometimes whimpers, but the floor muffled everything. Every morning, she would sneak bits of food through the gaps, though she was never sure if it reached him. Ekene watched with unease, his dreams filled with muffled cries and unseen hands clawing upward. Villagers occasionally asked why Ada stayed indoors so much, and Ekene would laugh it off as sickness. Yet at night, when all was quiet, Ada swore the floor vibrated faintly, like a heartbeat hidden beneath their home. Years passed, and the couple grew old, yet the secret beneath their feet remained. The baby never grew, never surfaced, but strange occurrences surrounded their home. When storms rattled the roofs, neighbors claimed they heard a baby crying from within. Once, a young boy swore he saw tiny fingers pushing through the wooden planks, only for his father to strike him for lying. Ada's eyes hollowed with guilt, her body frail from years of whispering prayers into the floor. She would kneel, pressing her ear against the wood, murmuring, "Forgive me, child." Ekene drank heavily, claiming the gods had cursed them both. The villagers kept their distance, muttering that the couple's hut smelled of spirits. But when Ada finally passed away, her last words to Ekene were chilling. "He is not gone, my husband. He waits beneath us, and one day he will rise." After both husband and wife died within months of each other, their hut was left to decay. Few wanted the land, but eventually, a wealthy trader named Obinna purchased it cheaply. He mocked the stories of curses, declaring, "Fools invent ghosts to explain poverty." He moved in with his wife Ngozi and their 2 children, Chika and Little Ife. The family laughed at the villagers' warnings, sleeping soundly on the first night. But the second night, Chika woke screaming, claiming she heard someone calling her name from under the floor. Obinna dismissed it as childish imagination until he noticed scratches on the wooden planks near her bed. He assumed rats, yet the marks looked too neat, like small human nails. Ngozi pressed her husband to bless the house with prayers, but Obinna scoffed, "This house will bend to my wealth, not to fear." Still, the floor creaked louder. Little Ife, the youngest, began speaking to someone no one else could see. At first, Ngozi thought it was harmless. Children often invent companions. But one evening, Ngozi overheard him whispering, "Don't worry, I'll bring you food tomorrow." The next morning, his porridge bowl was empty before anyone touched it. That night, muddy footprints appeared across the kitchen floor, small and childlike, leading back toward the locked wooden planks. Obinna grew angry, accusing his children of playing tricks. But Chika cried, insisting, "Mama, he lives under the house. He told me he is hungry." Ngozi's skin prickled, her heart racing. When she tried to question Ife, he only smiled strangely and said, "He's not bad, he just wants to come out." That night, the family lay awake listening. From beneath the house, faint tapping echoed, as though someone was knocking, asking to be let in.
Ngozi insisted on consulting a diviner after livestock near the house refused to enter. The diviner, a hunched old woman with blind eyes, sat silently for a long time before whispering, "Your home carries the breath of one who was never buried properly. A child sleeps beneath you, but not in peace." Obinna's Bemba fled, calling it superstition, but Ngozi trembled. The diviner continued, "You must unearth what was hidden, or it will unearth itself." Ngozi begged her husband to leave the house, but Obinna refused. Pride chained him. That night, the children huddled together as thunder rattled the sky. The floor thudded for Milo, louder than the storm. Ngozi clutched her children, whispering prayers as Obinna sat defiantly in the center of the room, fists clenched. Suddenly, the wood bent upward beneath him, as though pushed by invisible hands. The house seemed to breathe. Something wanted out. As the storm raged, Ngozi gasped when a pale, thin hand broke through the floorboards near the fireplace. Fingers, grey and trembling, stretched upward before vanishing back into the crack. Obinna leapt forward with a hammer, slamming the planks back down, sweat dripping from his brow. But every strike seemed futile. By dawn, the boards warped again, as though fighting to rise. Chika sobbed, begging her father to leave the house, while little Ife whispered cheerfully, "He says he's almost ready." Ngozi clutched her children, her fear boiling into anger at Obinna's arrogance. That evening, she placed offerings of food near the fireplace, hoping to appease whatever spirit lived below. But the food vanished without trace, leaving only the faint sound of chewing from beneath the floor. That night, Ngozi lay awake, tears streaming, as she heard a child's voice whisper, "Mama, I am still here." At midnight, Ngozi walked to a chilling sight. A small boy stood in the doorway, drenched in mud, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. His hair hung in wet clumps, and silver tears slid down his cheeks. She gasped, but before she could scream, he whispered softly, "Why did you bury me?" Ngozi's lip trembled, unable to answer. The boy tilted his head, gaze piercing, then stepped backward, and with a soft hiss, melted through the floor as though it were water. Her scream woke the family, but when she explained, Obinna dismissed it as a nightmare. Yet the children nodded fearfully, claiming they too had seen the boy. That night, the air grew icy. From beneath the floor, a child's laughter echoed, low and mocking. Ngozi realized the diviner had been right. The child was awake, and now he wanted the world to remember him. By morning, whispers filled the village. Children mocked Chika, calling her floor sister. Women avoided Ngozi in the market. The family's business began to crumble as villagers refused to buy Obinna's goods. That evening, Obinna dug beneath the house himself, determined to prove everyone wrong. What he found froze his blood. A cloth bundle, untouched by time, still carrying the scent of herbs. Inside was a child's blanket, perfectly preserved. He threw it into the fire, but it did not burn. Instead, it smoldered with silver smoke that filled the room. Ngozi fell to her knees, sobbing. Obinna staggered back, the weight of his pride collapsing. From beneath the floor, a voice rose clearer than ever. "I waited 10 years. Now you all hear me." The house shook violently, lanterns crashing to the ground. The family huddled together as thunder cracked outside, echoing the boy's rage. That night, the boy appeared again, this time before the entire family. His eyes glowed brighter, and tears of silver streamed freely, sizzling as they touched the ground. Each drop burned small holes into the floor, smoke curling upward. 10 years, he whispered, his voice older and heavier. "I wept beneath your feet. 10 years you fed me lies. Now I rise." The house trembled with each word. Ngozi clutched her children tightly, begging for mercy. But the boy shook his head. Obinna tried to confront him, but his knees buckled under unseen force. The boy's gaze swept across them, filled with sorrow and fury. "I am not gone. I am only beginning." As thunder roared,
The lanterns blew out, leaving the family in darkness. The last thing they heard was the boys' chilling laugh as the storm swallowed their screams.
The floorboards have spoken, but the story has only begun. Obinna thought wealth could silence the past. Ada thought love could cover judgment. But the boy buried beneath the mud has returned, and his tears burn like fire. Do you dare to see what happens when the dead no longer stay buried? Watch Series 2 of They Buried a Baby Under Their Floor, only on Tales by Sammie. Don't just hear the whispers. Witness the rising.